The other thing I would say about retail, like the importance of retail, is like if you get a retailer on board with your record or your artist or your label, they become an ambassador for you for much longer than a PR campaign, much longer than a radio campaign, because if they love that record, they're going to hustle that record. I mean, I remember the early days of Krunbin.
Yes.
We were slanging Krunbin records because people would come in and they'd be like, I just want something like cool. You want something to put on your parties that your friends haven't heard of? Fuck yeah, here you go, bub.
Yeah.
You're going to need this shit. It's not like we're doing Norwegian death metal and you're like, fucking throw this shit on, bro. You're going to fucking love it. It's like, put on this like super catchy dirty disco from Say She She and, or, a Durand record or a Kelly Finnigan record that like is contemporary and new and might be unknown to people, but definitely like touches points of nostalgia and feels a certain way. And that's historically record store fodder.
What's going on? Welcome to the New Music Business. I'm your host, Ari Herstand, author of How to Make It in the New Music Business, the book. Third edition is out now. Physical, hardcover, ebook, audiobook, however you consume books, you can find the new edition of the book. Today, my guest is Terry Cole of Colemine Records. Colemine Records, some of the artists that they have are Black Pumas, Neil Francis, Durand Jones and the Indications, The Dip, Say She She, Aaron Frazier. But what we spend the majority of our time talking about today is their physical retail operation, specifically with vinyl records. Because as he said later on in the show, which blew my mind, this was the first year in their what is it now? 10 to 15 years of operating as a label that digital finally surpassed physical, meaning last year in 2022, 2023, they made more revenue on their physical operation on vinyl sales than they did on digital. And their artists are no schlubs. I mean, they're doing very well. So it's fascinating. We spent the majority of the time talking about their physical operation. Now, Terry and his brother Bob, they started Plaid Room Records. That is a record store in Loveland, Ohio, just outside Cincinnati. And they knew it from the other side. They were running a record shop. They still run the record store. It's still around. But that's kind of how they got their start. And Terry will tell you the story. But, here's somebody that knows both sides of the operation. They know how to run a record shop and what the record labels are, their tactics to market to them. And then now they're running a record label. But they also have, sub-labels and subsidiaries and partnerships. They have partnerships with ATO. They have partnerships with Dead Oceans. Some of their sub-labels, they have Palmetto, All Town Sound, Three Palm Records, Razorhood, Karma Chief Records, Reminded Records. We didn't really get into all of how the operations work with these labels because, man, I was so fascinated. This is the only conversation I've had on the show now, and we're in 150 episodes or wherever we're at, where someone had such a successful physical retail operation that he kind of started from the ground up. So it was very cool to have this conversation with him. He talked to us from his studio where he does a lot of sessions there. So I think you're really going to enjoy this conversation. You should check out Colemine Records on their website. You can buy some of the records directly from them. They're kind of a soul record label, and if you're into that, then you're going to dig their stuff. You can find them on all the socials. You can find all of us that make the show happen at Ari's Take on Instagram, TikTok, and X. You can find me at Ari Herstand on Instagram. Visit aristake.com. Get on the email list. That's our website. Get on the email list. That's where you're going to get the most up-to-date information about the new music business. But pause the show right now. Leave us a 5-star review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or however you're listening to this. If this is YouTube right now, hit that up thumb, hit the subscribe, hit the follow button if you want us to appear in your feed some more. All right, let's kick into the show. Terry Cole, welcome to the show.
How's it going? Thanks for having me.
Great. Okay. For those that are just watching, I need to know, or just listening rather, and not watching. But those that are watching too, what microphone am I looking at right now that you're talking through?
An EV 635A.
And what year is this from? Would you say?
Oh, this is a. I think this is a new one. This is a.
Really?
Like these are. Yeah, it's like.
It looks old.
It does look old. Yeah, these are great little mics for like everything. Really, I think they're.
Why do you have
fantastic.
this?
Why do I have what? This mic?
This microphone. What is the like? Where did the EV? Yeah, this is no schlubby. Like I've never seen one of these before. What is this like? What
like
was the
$100
impetus for buying? It's a $100 microphone.
It's like $100 mic. Yeah, I mean, so right now I'm in the control room of my studio. Okay. So there's all sorts of dorky mics, around here. But I found this one to be like high output. It's good for like you can be off the mic and it still picks it up.
Yep.
But it's pretty directional. And it looks cool.
You use this for talkback mic typically? It does look cool.
Yeah, I use it for talkback. And then when we're recording, when we do like recording like video sessions in the studio, we'll use this for like vocal mics just because it looks a little cooler than a 58. You'll track vocals through this $100 mic and it sounds good. Oh yeah, for sure.
Or are you talking like you do the music video like lip sync through that microphone?
Both.
Oh really? Okay.
Oh
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shitty.
Yeah.
Is
well, for those that shitty is pretty. That's right. I got this. I've been using this, SM7Bs, which it's a $300 mic. It's fantastic. It's I've tracked vocals through it. But opposite to that guy, it is so directional, and it's like you have to be so close on it, and the input. I mean, a lot of people use cloud lifters or something for the interface because it sends such a weak signal, which is actually really good when you're tracking live with the band. So I've done like live sessions because it doesn't pick up a lot unless you're like right on it, And I have my interface cranked all the way max. Right, I don't have a cloud lifter or anything, but it actually this looks pretty. This looks pretty, but it also I mean it looks like a whatever.
Wait,
7.
Hold on, I got a dorky thing. Look.
Yeah. Show me what you got.
So this is this is an SM5B. Which is like the prototype to the SM7.
Oh, cool.
Which is
super. That looks great.
It's super fucking dope. It's the shit.
Nice. Oh, it's great.
It looks like a football, but it's sick.
It does. Yeah. So are you the engineer for the sessions that you do in studio there? Are you actually tracking? Did you get started as all right, so let's take back because we're not here to talk about gear. We're here to talk about Colemine Records. And I'm just curious because can you just give me an overview of what Colemine Records is? Because in my research as I was doing this, I saw you had a bunch of labels that you distribute. You had some subsidiaries or some sister labels, or I don't really know what you'd call them. You also have maybe a parent distributor, or you have partnerships with other labels. So I see you do vinyl, you have retail operation. From your words, I was trying to wrap my head around what Colemine Records is. I still don't know, and that's what I'm excited to figure out through this conversation.
Sure.
You tell me what Colemine Records is and what you do.
Yeah, I mean, in the most basic sense, Colemine is an independent record label putting out music rooted in soul. I think we like to say like soulful sounds. It definitely started like 16 years ago.
Oh wow.
I was in finishing up grad school, and very inspired by Daptone and Truth and Soul at the time, and so I was just like, hey, that's cool. It's cool that they can make 45s in 2005 or 2006, and I was like, I want to do that shit. So that was where it started. But at its core, Colemine Records is just an independent record label. There are lots of partnerships like above and below and beside, and things that have grown over the last 16 years. But at its core, we're just a record label. trying to make cool records, basically.
Cool. And I, I'm a fan of a lot of the artists on the label. And I just, because this is the New Music Business Podcast, of course, I really want to get geeky and nerdy about the business, because I'm very fascinated with how this how the operation runs. So when you say you're an independent record label, I'm assuming that means what a traditional record label may do, which is sign and develop artists and put out their records. Right? That's part of what you do.
Yep, for sure.
Okay. Yeah. And so, but then I've also noticed some of the artists that you're with, or that are on your label, or rather on your website, I should say, because I'm actually not sure which are signed to the label or not. Can you, first off, let's just talk about the difference between Colemine Records, Karma Chief Records, and Reminded Records, because those are the labels that are listed on your website. What's the difference?
Yeah, so Colemine is the first label, the parent label, if you will. That was the label I started in 2007 when I was finishing up grad school, and that was ran as a hobby for almost 10 years while I was a teacher. I was a high school science teacher, taught zoology and botany. And it was a hobby sort of until it wasn't a hobby. So I, after about 10 years, there was maybe like 2 LPs on the label, and maybe like 30 45s. And
cool. And when you say 45s, let me just clarify for a second. 45s traditionally are 7-inch vinyl records. They run at the 45 speed. When you're saying 45, are you actually meaning you printed up 7-inch 45 records, or are you referring to singles that you released digitally?
No, 7-inch 45s. Yeah, physical 45s.
45s.
Yeah.
Physical. So, okay. Did you also release those as digital singles too, or did you only do them as physical? Okay.
Yeah,
gotcha.
both.
Thank you.
So that was we had about 30 or so at that point, and I was becoming kind of frustrating with teaching, and my superintendent came in one day, and I was doing some bomb ass lab. And he came in and had some shit to say about the length of my hair, and I was like, "Fuck this shit." I got really pissed off, and I drove down. I was teaching in my hometown, Middletown, Ohio, and I drove down about 30 minutes to this town called Loveland, where I'd been like the previous summer I'd been like biking and canoeing. Loveland's like a little, outdoorsy sort of town outside of Cincinnati.
Cool.
And I just started looking for retail space to open a record store, because I started selling records on eBay when I was like 12. I started selling 78s and LPs and 45s in like 90, 98, 99, like right at the dawn of eBay, when it was the fucking Wild West.
When you weren't legally probably allowed to be selling records on eBay because you were 12.
Dude, YOLO. It was but like the whole...
You were playing online poker at the same time on the side, and just like 100%. Doing all the shit that you're... Yeah.
Yes. Right. But it was... selling records on eBay started with my dad, because I was like... my parents didn't know how we were going to pay for college, and my dad had been a record collector for a long time, and through that he had amassed records that were worth money that he didn't really care about. And then there was this whole new thing called the internet and the electronic bay, and so I started selling records. I paid for my grad and undergrad by cash by selling records on eBay.
No shit.
Yeah.
Wow, this is a full-on operation. Okay,
it was
cool.
It was a mish. I had cops my junior year of college. I had the university police. I went to school at Miami University in Oxford, Ohio, and when I went to pay the bursar office like $8,300 for that semester in cash, because they charge you they charge you a credit card fee if you pay with a credit card. So I was like, I'm not going to pay 4% on $8,000 So I was paying in cash, and like 20 minutes after I got back to my apartment, a cop showed up and was like, "Hey, the bursar office sent me over here," and I was like, "For paying my tuition on time and in full." But I understood, because I look like what I look like, and they were like, "Sure, buddy." But then he came in, and there was like just a wall of record crates. So all that to say, I had a history of like, I knew how to sell records. And so it felt like, in my mind, record label income is very volatile. You get a lot, then you lose a lot. It's very up and down. Whereas a retail operation would be steady. And it would allow, maybe allow me to sort of actually see the label to its full potential if I was like in that industry full time. So I drove to Loveland. This is 2014. Drove to Loveland, called my younger brother who had just finished up grad school to be like a computer engineer, and I was like, "Hey, bro, you don't want to do that shit, do you? And make a bunch of money? Let's be poor and run a record store." So we opened up a record store in 2015, and that was, I would say that was the beginning of like doing really doing the record label at a full.
Did you call it Colemine Records?
No, the record store is called Plaid Room Records.
Plaid Room. And is it still around?
Oh yeah. It's got like 15, 16 employees.
Hell yeah.
So that was 2015, and that was sort of like the whole point of opening the unforeseen benefit to opening the store was we sort of got to see what other independent record labels and major labels, how they marketed things. Because, we were on the receiving end or on the observational end of like seeing a marketing campaign work or not work or whatever. And so from Colemine's side of thing, my brother and I would just like, oh, that's a good idea. We should take that shit. We should do that shit. Or like, that didn't work at all. That was a terrible idea. And so, through that, we really came to market ourselves through record stores. The very early releases, we, instead of trying to like figure out how in the fuck to do digital marketing, because back then especially it still felt like what is happening.
2015 was the bottom of the recorded music industry. It was literally the year that there was the global recorded music industry in the year 2015, maybe it was 2014, was it was the lowest point in decades of actual revenue that was coming in. Nobody knew what was going on. Digital, physical, nothing. So it was kind of like a time ripe for innovation and experimentation.
Yeah, and I had no idea. We were distributed back then digitally by The Orchard, and it just felt like and the only reason we were at The Orchard was because we were with IOTA, and IOTA got bought out by The Orchard.
What's IOTA?
IOTA was a digital
aggregator.
Another
distributor. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
But seriously, back then I absolutely viewed digital revenue as just like fake sky money. Like I didn't even consider it ever. It was never a consideration when it came to like a budget or anything like that. It was like, oh yeah, I don't know. How much will we make? I don't know.
So you were running the Plaid Room, the record store in Loveland, and you were also running Colemine Records as you were kind of putting out records for artists. Okay. And then, so continue through the journey because I'm fascinated by this actually. Then where did it go from there? You're in 2015 and you're dealing with Sky money. Now, how do you turn that into real money?
Well, there was not much Sky money, and so the vibe was like, okay, we were to a point where we knew we could sell based on reputation. At that point, we could sell 500 to 1,000 45s of pretty much anything we put out, which was a really good spot to be in because we were like, cool. People trust the sound. We can take chances. We can put out artists that don't exist. Because that's the fun thing about 45s is like, it's just 2 songs. It's just 2 songs and label art. And so you can have these made up projects and sort of like experiment with them because it's very low risk. You can like, and it's just fun.
Well, who do you sell these to? Who are you selling 1,000 records to of a band that nobody's ever heard of? Who's buying these?
So, I had amassed a pretty good like mailing list over the first like 9 or 10 years of doing the label, strictly through, like word of mouth, reputation, through record stores. There was never any like, up until that point, there was never any formal marketing other than like social media and word of mouth at stores, word of mouth through like fans, DJs, collectors, shit like that. So there was a big chunk of D2C, like a lot of D2C. And then, the rest was
direct to consumer.
Yeah. And then the rest was wholesaled through our physical distributor back then, Fat Beats.
Okay. And so you had a physical distributor and what does a physical distributor do?
Yeah, so physical distributor, you give them their records, they take care of getting them into record stores. It's their job to solicit your record and releases to record stores. If the stores, and then it's your job as the label to get the shop to order it. Which I think that nuance is maybe the biggest like misinformation, misunderstood concept when it comes to distribution and physical sales, because there's a lot of people, artists on our label, maybe myself included, like 12 years ago, that viewed distribution as like a salesperson, and at the end of the day they're just like a highway, like they're a highway to record stores, but it's your job as the label to market to the store or to your customer to go to their store to place the order with the distributor. And so, yeah, we were moving like probably half through through wholesale and then half direct from our website. But never any formal marketing or shit like that until the first Durand Jones record in 2016. And I remember we hired a publicist who we still work with, Tony Benyata. And I remember thinking like, holy shit, I like that whatever that TV show was, like, I will never financially recover from this. I was just like, I could not believe I was paying someone to do a service that felt intangible. You know what I mean? Like,
and that was the money you were paying to the publicist?
Yeah, and it wasn't even. It's hilarious.
What?
It's hilarious how not much it was. But back then, I was like, holy shit. This $1,200 for this 4-month campaign, mother of God, we're never gonna.
That's nothing. Most publicists are charging $3,000 a month, $4,000 a month for a 4-month.
Yeah, I mean,
campaign,
we pay. We're paying Surefire. We're paying Surefire right now. Like, whatever, $3,500 a month or something. Yeah. It's like,
oh, you're getting a steal from Surefire then, $3,500 a month. Man, I better go back to them and be like, hey,
all you gotta do is
$3,500. Why are you quoting me $4,500? Right.
All you gotta do is like, pay for just so many months, and they're like, oh, it's okay, here you go, it's okay. We really like them. But like, that was the first campaign that we hired somebody for. But still the majority of the marketing was 100% through record stores. So we sent out promo LPs we probably sent out like 120 promo copies to record stores that we had relationships with around the country, because we were doing direct wholesale back then. It was a mix. We were doing some wholesale through Fat Beats. Part of our deal with Fat Beats was like, you have to also let us do direct wholesale, because at the end of the day, me and Bob is my brother, our thought was like, no one's gonna hustle us as hard as we are, so I want to have the right to sell directly to stores as well. And so we sent out like 120 to like our best stores, and that first press of 1,000 records from Durand like sold out the week it came out. Like, they were gone.
Wow.
And so I don't know, that campaign was like a massive learning experience, because we got to see how powerful giving a record store a good record to play in the record store is.
Did you help me understand this now? Did you sign Durand Jones to Colemine Records and then release the album both physically and digitally, or how did this go down?
So we signed, almost all of our deals are like license agreements for the most part, unless it's something that I produce. So the artist owns the masters, and we just license them exclusively for a certain time period. I think most of our deals back.
And what are they're
50-50. They're 50-50 net profit splits. Back then, I think our license terms were something hilarious, like 2 or 3 years or something. I don't know. Because back then,
in terms of what most labels are doing. But for the
artist. Back then, back then it was like very low risk, just felt like still for fun, that sort of shit. And it is still fun. But so we released that record digitally and physically, I think middle of 2016. And that was the first record that we had ever released where it started to take on a life of its own. Like just organically.
And what album was this?
The self-titled Durand Jones The Indications record.
Okay. Got it.
And so, you know, it started to sort of take off on its own, and they went and played South by, and for the first
Mm-hmm.
time, we sort of felt like we could see the train coming down the tracks, and we were going to get run over because we didn't know what the
Mm.
fuck we were doing. Um, like I don't think it ever got to the point where we were holding the band back, but we could feel that eventually it was going to get to that point. And we
Yeah.
could we
Okay.
could we could feel like, managers calling us, major labels calling us, like, hey, you want to sell, trying to figure out what the deal structure was and all this sort of shit. And we were
Yep.
like, I'm a teacher and he's an engineer. We don't know how to navigate these conversations.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And for us, we're just like, yo, we love these dudes. We love this record. We're not trying to hold anybody back, but we're also trying to learn along the
Sure.
way and get better at this.
Sure.
But eventually it really it became obvious that, we either need to, release them or find a partner to help us scale up with them. And so we had
Mm-hmm.
a lot of different conversations we talked to Columbia, we talked to Warner, and they all just felt like shit. Like they just felt like
Mm-hmm.
exactly what I thought they would feel like. And
Mm-hmm.
then we talked to the crew at Dead Oceans,
Mm-hmm.
under the Secretly umbrella, and those
Mm-hmm.
dudes all talked like me and Bob, and
Mm-hmm.
and like also recognized all that we had done to like grow it in a very DIY way. Like they recognized the
Yeah.
value in what the Colemine brand brought to the table. And
Yeah.
so, rather than letting the license expire, we formed a new agreement with Dead Oceans to release, that essentially overrode that one LP deal that was a
Gotcha.
3 LP deal, and it folded Colemine into the deal with Dead Ocean, so like a profit sharing level. And then it also gave us
Okay.
like exclusive licensing rights for the 45 for 45s
Mm.
from whatever forthcoming LPs. And so it was really kind of the best of both worlds, because from the band's perspective, they got to like keep like the homegrown DIY vibe, like the kind of the appearance, if you will, or
Yeah.
like the outward, the advocate was still us for them, but they
Mm-hmm.
have like
Mm.
big indie money and infrastructure of Secretly behind them. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then for us also, we got to kind of like sit sidecar with an indie label who knows what they're doing, and sort of be like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, let's see what they actually do. Like how does
Yeah.
a record label that is just a record label, meaning like Colemine back then was a record label built on reputation and like curation, not
Yeah.
label services. It was just
Yes.
like, oh, it was a niche thing. And so like it's not like people collect Dead Oceans records. People aren't like, oh, I got to get
Mm-hmm.
that new hot
Mm-hmm.
Dead Ocean shit. It's like, no, they're just so good
Right.
at record labeling that they're
Yeah.
artists because they're artists because they market them well, they develop them well, they spend the money in the right places. So
Yeah, and Dead Oceans has Phoebe Bridgers and Japanese Breakfast and Krungbin,
Kevin
Mitski,
Morby,
uh, Kevin
and
Morby,
yeah,
Toro y Moi. Yeah, so Bright Eyes. Okay, so that makes that at the, I guess makes sense for Durand Jones. Of course, it's like, okay, we're now signing with a bigger label, but Dead Oceans is still independent. It's not a Warner. It's not Columbia. They're an indie label distributed under the Secretly group, like you said. So I'm still so help me break this down a little bit. Secretly is the parent company, and they have a bunch of subsidiary label. They Secretly a what is Secretly? Is it a distributor?
man,
Is it
that's
a
the
label? What is it?
that's the $1 million question. I think I've drawn this picture for so many people on my staff, like to answer that exact
Uh-huh.
question. So the
Yeah.
parent company is Secretly Group. Secretly Group
Okay.
is the ownership or owns Secretly Canadian, Dead Oceans, Jaguar, Secretly Distribution, Secretly Publishing, and then I think they're
Mm-hmm.
partial owners of Numero Group. So,
Okay.
but it started as a label, Secretly Canadian, and then like grew and kind
Mm-hmm.
of there was a partnership formed between Jaguar and Secretly Canadian, and then eventually they were fed up with distro and decided we'll start our own distro, Secretly Distribution. Eventually they were like, oh, we're fed up with publishers, we'll start our own publishing company. So that's it sort of grew in that outward manner, and now it's very like it's very vertically aligned. So like everybody that works at any of the labels that I just named is a Secretly Group employee. So you might have a project manager that works a Dead Oceans project, a Jag project. You know, they float where they're sort of needed within the company. That way you don't kind of have, you know, don't overstaff here or understaff there. And they share a lot of services. They share, you know, accounting, they share legal, they share distribution, obviously publishing, right? So it's like by kind of uniting together and sharing these common things, they become more efficient and you know, profitable.
So they have the internal kind of creative teams by the label. So Dead Oceans, maybe I'm assuming here, has their own A&R, has their own project managers, maybe some other, maybe marketing people or something like that. Jaguar, same thing. But Secretly also has these people or shared resources, or maybe they have a digital person, a marketing person, or whatever, you know, and then you can tap into as well.
I think the biggest distinguishing thing is A&R. I think a lot of the marketing crew and the creative they're like secretly people that will work project to project. I think A&R is I think that's the main distinguishing thing for those three labels, for Jag, Dead Oceans, and Secretly Canadian.
And so then where do you fall into all of this? Colemine Records, because it's not technically a Secretly record label.
Yeah, so that was the beginning of working with Secretly, and we knew them. We knew them on the retail side because we bought from Secretly Distribution for the store, and so we knew them on the other side of things. And so that was our first foray into like working with them as a label partner, and it was and has been, you know, probably the best move we've ever made, because we got to, like I said, sit sidecar and really like watch a record label who just record labels develop an artist and sort of be like, all right, here's what it takes financially, here's what it takes human resources wise, team wise, all that sort of stuff. And through that, we ended up moving our distro in 2018 over to Secretly Distribution. Just because things were like scaling up and the shop was growing, the label was growing, and it was still just my brother and I working and doing all this shit. And I'll never forget, and they had been like kind of courting us for a while, like, you should let us distro, but they wanted us to give up direct wholesale. And I was just like, they wanted us to give up the right to sell directly to stores. They wanted to handle all of our wholesale,
the physical distribution too.
Correct. Yeah.
Got it. And you were already had physical distribution. You were already distributing to retail operations. But they wanted to take that over.
Yeah. And my concern was that, you know, I had built these relationships with these retailers over the past 10 or so years, and I knew how fickle retailers are. I know that they can't open a spreadsheet sometimes to save their fucking life, and I know that, you know, I still have people that call and place orders by like describing the album cover, and it's like, it's amazing. And I didn't want to. I was afraid that if I moved to that and I was like, hey y'all, I know you've been ordering for us for 10 years, but now you have to do it through Secretly. I was afraid there would be some backlash. And so I held off for like a year. And then I remember Chris Swanson, one of the owners of Secretly, and Chris Wells, who runs or is the managing director of Secretly Distro. They're based in Bloomington, Indiana, so it's like 2 hours from here. And they came on a visit to like just shoot the shit and hang. And they came in at like this perfect time where like Bob was running the store out front. It was just an absolute madhouse. People are trying to sell him records. People are trying to ring out. I'm in the back. I have like art files up on 2 screens, an accounting sheet up on another. I'm like wrapping a wholesale order. You know, just like clearly we're just stretched so thin. And Chris Swanson was like, hey man, like, what do you think you guys are better at? Like running a business or like wrapping boxes? Like what are you guys better at? And I was like, all right, yeah, good point. And so, and I think it was sort of a aha moment for me because I realized that like the thing I wanted to do was I wanted to maintain the relationships with stores, and I thought that if I wasn't doing the direct sale, I couldn't do that. But I think it was this aha moment because I was like, I can still do that. Somebody else is doing the heavy lifting, doing the billing, the shipping, but I can still be me and my team can still be the cheerleader. And ultimately that's our job as a label. Like our job as a label is to educate the retailer, to promote to them, to convince them to bring our stuff in. And then we have this like very well-oiled distribution machine that can handle the rest of it. So that was 2018. And that was just, that move took so much off of us from the physical side of things. And then also we moved our digital from the Orchard, and we went from sort of just like throwing things into the ether and like being like, I hope it does something, to having a whole team of people that were like, oh, here's what you should do, and here's why. And it allowed us to go from like, this year was the first year our digital revenue, from Secretly exceeded our physical revenue. I mean, our physical, we move a lot of records. And so it took a big bump in the digital space to catch that.
Let me just clarify. That is not an industry standard where the physical for a record label is greater than the digital. I mean, globally, I want to say the physical is like 2 or 3% of all recorded music or something. I have these numbers somewhere. But like the fact that you are even 50-50, let alone more on physical than on digital, that's wild. That doesn't happen in 2023, let alone 2018 or whatever. So okay, that's fascinating. And so, I mean, I guess with physical, I mean, were you selling vinyl records primarily? Was there CDs? Were there cassettes, or is it just vinyl? And was it 7-inch or 45s and 30?
Yeah, 98% LP and 45. Some
LP,
cassettes
45.
and some
Okay,
CDs.
cool.
I don't know who the fuck the people are that are buying CDs, but they do exist in the world.
Got it.
But yeah, most of the LPs and 45.
Okay,
but it was,
all right.
But
So that's yeah, and you're still doing it. So I mean, I want to get into more of the record label side and some of these other artists and artist development, but I want to stay on physical for a second because I'm fascinated by this, because I think you might be the first guest I've had in 150 episodes that has a substantial physical retail operation, and definitely the only one that has a one that has surpassed digital, or rather did up until this past year. Okay, so talk to me a little bit about selling physical records, because you've worked on both sides. You have the record store, you've dealt with record labels and distributors, and you sell to record stores. Tell me about how this works these days, and what are some how do you get the record in the store? How do you get them to prioritize it? How do you market? What is physical marketing these days? Just however you want to take this.
Yeah, it's really hard to get a retailer to give a shit. I mean, and I say that with like the utmost empathy, because Plaid Room is one of the top online physical retailers in the country as far as moving LPs.
No shit.
Yeah. And I mean, we've bought, kudos to Bob, like he's built like a gnarly, he's putting that computer engineering degree to use. He's built like a gnarly infrastructure and fulfillment, and we have amazing customer service and all that shit, but it's hard. Every week there are anywhere between 200 and 350 new UPCs that are streeting. And as a store, you have to figure out, okay, what is going to sell? What do we bring in? How many do we bring in? Vinyl sales are all one way, so you can't return them if they don't sell. So it's risky. If you miss by 20% or 30% or 50%, there's all the profit you were going to make on that product, because profit margins are 30, 32. If you're getting direct from Yeah, yeah. So margins
So
aren't.
what is that? Yeah.
So
How does
yeah, it
that work typically?
means if we, as a record store, if we buy, if you buy a Colemine record from Secretly, most of our LPs I think are 15.50. So you're going to pay $15.50
Wholesale.
wholesale from
Okay.
Secretly, and then you can price it anywhere
Mm-hmm.
between 22 and 25. It's up to you. And so
You can is that part of the deal that they have to cap it? That it's capped?
um, I mean, there's a list price. I think the list price technically for that price point is 26.98, but I mean,
Okay.
most stores I would say sit below list for the most part. There's some of the really big stores will just sit at list all day, but most stores will price things below list, just because
See, that
sort
seems
of.
low. I mean, I don't want to get stuck on this, but that seems low. I was just at a Amoeba in Hollywood the other day, and it was hard to find a record under $30 or $35. And
I
we're talking a
mean,
single LP. What is the
I
shit?
mean, major label shit, it's fucked. Like it's
Okay,
absolutely
so that's different.
fucked. Yeah, I mean, stuff from the majors. I mean, they've had like
Mm,
2 price increases in the past year. Plus, unless you're a store of our size, you can't even buy direct from them. So you can't buy direct from Universal. If you're a new store that opened up today, if you're a new store that opened up the last 3 years, you are not going to be able to buy direct from Universal. You're going to have to buy it from a one stop, which is basically a middleman distributor who's buying it from Universal.
mm-hmm.
So instead of paying $19 instead of paying $22.50 for the new Taylor Swift from Universal, you're going to pay 25 from a one stop or 26 or something.
Mm,
Um,
got
but
it.
major but
Got it.
major label prices are just like absolutely asinine anyway. I mean, they're just insane
Okay.
what they charge.
Yeah.
And there's like, I mean, the number of humans that are there, like, bless all those humans that are working at those major labels handling the physical. I mean, there's one dude at
Mm-hmm.
Universal, one fucking guy to handle
Wow.
all of the direct accounts, which is why they can't take on any more
Sure.
accounts.
Sure.
So it's a very, very difficult time to be a label or a store
Mm,
or a distributor. Like it's
mm-hmm.
just trying to find a balance. And like the pandemic put a whole wrench in all this because pandemic saw record sales, and sort of an exacerbation of LP sales. And now it's kind of coming back to reality of like
Yeah.
where it probably should be. And
Yeah.
it's hard, it's just hard because there's a lot of new stores that open during then. But as far as how to
Mm,
market, the best thing I can say, and most record labels that I tell this to dismiss this. There is no better way to market your record to a record store than sending them a record to play in the store. Like, and I mean, that sounds like it should be like really obvious, but it's not, because every record label I say that to, and I tell them that we send out between 150 and 175 promos to retailers, they're like, well, that's just so much
mm-hmm.
money.
Mm-hmm.
Six times 175. And I'm like, yeah, but what the fuck do we all pay a Surefire or Missing Piece
Mm-hmm.
Group or
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
whatever publicity or radio plugger you're doing? Like, this is a copy of the record going to a place that sells the record, and now they can
Right.
play it in the store. And if it's good, people will
And
be
that
like,
works. I mean, so wait, to explain this how this works. So you package up a single record, you got the Colemine Records logo at the top, you send it off, you send 175 records to 175 different record shops in the US, in the country, I'm assuming.
mm-hmm.
And then you start making phone calls, or you just hope that they're going to open your package and be like, what's this? And then they put it on in the store, and that actually moves product?
Yes. Yeah, and it's
That's
phone
how
calls.
it works.
It's phone calls, it's emails, it's years of relationships and trust.
Okay.
And that's it. It's like
Wow, it's so old school. It's
yeah,
wild. Let me tell you, I, no, sorry, go ahead.
no, that's it. It's like it's so dumb, but
Mm-hmm.
it's not rocket surgery. It's like you're trying to sell records. Like, you want to sell records in a record store. Well,
Yeah.
give them the record and if it's good,
this is like that movie High Fidelity. If you ever saw High Fidelity, which is one of my favorites, and it's like Jack Black is like, watch, I'm gonna sell 4 records right now, and he puts on the record, and like and you see the record shop just kind of all turn and start bobbing, moving their heads, and like and he starts, people are saying, oh, what's playing here, man, and then he starts selling. It's like it still works.
think about it, like the record stores are places that people go to find new music, right? And there's an infinite amount of new music that comes out every fucking day, whatever the number is. 100,000 new songs uploaded to Spotify every day or whatever. It's like, and so you can either trust the algorithm to curate it for you, or you can, you follow people that recommend things, right? But like, there's too much. There's too much. There has to be a filter, right?
Yes.
And record stores are a traditional filter and curator of that. You follow record stores. You go to record stores to discover things that you didn't know existed, and it's a thing. Like that first Durand Jones record, we had nothing. No PR, like we didn't get any cool PR, any cool radio, anything, but the record was cool and it sounded cool and people bought it. And so we've been doing that since 2016. And we there's definitely, obviously it's easy. We're in a position where it's easier for us to, like when people see our package and we have these like promo only stickers that are just rip off of old Warner Brothers stickers that like, when record store people see that, they know that we get it. Like they see that and they know like, oh, these dorks are record dorks. Yeah. Like, and so that's a way to their, we know the way to their hearts. And our record, our promo records they have a, like if you know anything about records, back in the day they had white label promos, like DJ only. And it was whatever the normal label design, but it was on a white label and it went out first to record stores, and we print up 200 copies on white label promos with the actual label art, because it's like an extra $200 or $300, but it's so fucking cool. Like when you see a label design that the Atlantic label design for Zeppelin is green and orange, but when you pull out a copy and you see it's on a fucking white label, you're like, holy shit. And
exclusive.
And so we little things like that to like let shops know like, hey, we understand the culture and we know that the most powerful thing we can do as far as marketing our records in a retail environment is to give you a copy of the record, because we're confident in the product, and if you're confident in the product then it'll sell itself better than
that's so cool. There's so much
better than a window cling or a fucking all the other things you can do, like all the marketing shit that you can book with Amoeba or Rough Trade. It's like, it's cool, but like I think all of its effectiveness pales in comparison to just giving them a copy of the record.
Yeah, no, that is so interesting, because it's just like I have yet to speak with someone in the new music business in the last 10 years, 15 years that has a physical first mentality, or that's just like, that takes this much thought and care and consideration into the physical operation. But it makes sense because like vinyl sales continue to grow. And it's the actual music lovers are going to record shops. I was in Amoeba last week. I mean, that's my local. There's, I live kind of right nearby, but, and it was packed. And it's just like, you could just take a snapshot of that moment and be like, oh, we're in the year 1992 right now. I mean, and I was like, oh, I'm looking around like, this place is packed. And there's the CD, half the stores CDs, half the stores vinyl records. I'm like, man, this is wild. And, but it is funny because it's like, I think we forget, and you mentioned like, you could rely on the algorithm to feed you something, which is what everyone is relying on right now. Like we are all worshiping this almighty algorithm. Every label, every artist, every manager, every marketing agency literally is on their knees bowing down and praying to the almighty algorithm and doing whatever they can in sacrificial lambs that they need to offer to the algorithm in terms of release frequency. Oh my god, do we have to release a single every single month? Okay. And then we have to point people here, we got to spend money on ads to point people directly to your thing. It's like, what are we, it's all about the algorithm. And then you go a different way. You're like, well, actually, let's where are the real music lovers? And they're actually showing up to physical record shops, which I just wouldn't even think to go that route, because we all are so obsessed and we think digital first, because theoretically digital can reach everybody and has a much wider reach for a lot cheaper. Like it is, it costs virtually nothing to distribute your song to the DSPs, to Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, etc. And it costs a lot of money to have to print up all of these physical records and send them all out, and promos and all of that. But yeah, what are you spending on PR? What are you spending on a marketing agency? I mean, at the end of the day, what is going to be the biggest bang for the buck? And I mean, unless you want to be one of the millions of songs that have been released that have gotten literally 0 streams, there's got to be something to break through all this noise. And that's just so fascinating to me. I go back to in college, I used to work at this sub shop in Minneapolis, and my apartment was like 5 blocks away from the sub shop. And so after I would finish work at the sub shop, I'd walk home, and I'd walk past 2 record stores. And this is in Minneapolis.
Wait,
and I would go into one usually.
Fetus? Was Fetus one of them?
Electric Fetus is the one. Yes, that wasn't the one. It was, but yes, Electric Fetus is the big record shop in Minneapolis that I also used to live near. It was No Name Records was the one in Dinkytown in Minneapolis, and there was a CD warehouse there too. But so I'd walk into No Name Records, and I just like this is my daily routine. I'd pop in there and I'd go through the records and whatever, and over the speakers they were playing Nick Drake. And I'm 19. I'd never heard of Nick Drake before. And they're playing Nick Drake. I'm like, man, who is this? This is great. And I go up and I ask the clerk. I mean, this is straight out of a movie scene. He was like, who is this? And he got so excited. He brings me to the Nick Drake section, and he pulls out, Pink Moon and 5 Leaves Left. He's like, start with these 2. And I was like, oh man. And I did, and he became one of my favorite artists. And because of that, it like started this journey. But like that interaction, I'm talking about it now, 15, 16, 17 years later, I remember that. Can you remember the time when you opened your Spotify app and you got fed something from the algorithms like, oh, I discovered this song because Spotify fed it to me on a playlist that I listened to? No! But you fucking remember when you had an interaction with a clerk at a record shop where they just opened your world and you had a real physical encounter. There is definitely something more impactful to that.
Yeah, man. And the other thing is that I think, obviously we've been doing it for a long time. And so I don't want to say like everybody that is going to, if you mail a record to a record store, immediately it's going to get opened, because we get that every once in a while, and it's like, hey, who's your distro? Oh, fuck, you don't have any distro? God damn it. Because now it's like, how do we get it? What do we got to do? We're going to Venmo you $12 or some shit. It's like,
yeah,
but if we right. know like, oh shit, you're distributed through one of these indie distributors, fuck yeah, cool, thanks for sending the record, we'll grab a couple on the next order. Like that's the other piece of advice I could give to like independent artists that are going to mail out promotional copies, is like, if you have physical distro in place, driving the retailer to the distro, because you want them to be able to reorder. You know what I mean? Like if they buy 2 copies from you, what's the chances that when they go to do their weekly orders, they're going to be like, oh yeah, I got to go pay Billy Joe and Bob $17 more. Right. I got to email them. Oh wait, they don't check that email.
Right. Do an invoice.
Yeah. Right. And so that's one piece of it. But I mean, physical touches digital. Like that's the other thing is like,
yes,
a physical foundation sort of allows you to like, I won't say circumvent the algorithm because it doesn't, but like it does provide a little like kick in the ass to the algorithm, because if you can sell 500 to 1,000 records, that's 500 to 1,000 people that probably also stream on some service, and they're going to listen to your new record on a streaming service. And so like when that shit comes out that day, they're going to be excited about it on digital platforms as well as physical. And it does provide like a foundational listener base. I would say that is 100% what we had walking into our partnership with Secretly. It was like, we didn't have playlists. We didn't have artists that had like massive social profiles, but we had like label listeners, which is wild.
Yes.
Like it's crazy powerful because it's like, it allows you to sort of like break artists that have not from
because
zero.
they trust the label.
Right. But like, man, what you said about
dance space.
Say what?
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say like, what you said about retail, like that interaction is like spot on.
Yeah.
That shit happens every day. And in our label offices are the second floor of the record store. So it's like this beautiful, like symbiotic thing, like downstairs, they're
cool.
Hustling Colemine Records, and upstairs we're planning them for 6 months in advance or whatever,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we see that similarly in the dance and electronic space. Like I had Darren Delgado of Dirty Bird Records and Hit Music and Sam Sciarra of Higher Ground, and like these are like electronic record labels, and that similarly people. That was the first time that I was like, and that whole conversation we were talking about downloads, because they're like they're an electronic label, and they work with DJs and producers, and they need the downloads for the club and the remixes and all of that stuff. They were selling a shit ton of downloads, and that blew my mind. This was not too long ago. They're like, oh yeah, most of our sales are in downloads. I'm like, what year are we in? And that, but they had also built a following around the record labels when they're in the electronic space. And so this is, similarly how you're doing it. But I mean, what you said is, and for the people running labels out there, I want to reiterate, and that it's so important that you can't just send the record to a record shop and think that you're going to do gangbusters like you've done. Like clearly the way that you packaged it with the white labels and the branding that you have on there, like it does look like that old Atlantic Records, that old Warner Records, like that old 45s, and how you've done that. And you've taken such care into knowing who you're selling to, which are other music nerds. These are other like record label nuts that are at record shops, or I should say music nuts that are at record shops that love records. That's why they're working at a record shop, because they love record and they know the history of it. And so like that's your audience. You know who you're targeting when you're doing that, and that's really smart. So for the labels who are listening right now, who are some physical indie distributors that they should be looking into to potentially work with?
I would say in the States, I'd say the best two indie distributors are Secretly Distribution and Red Eye. And I would have said that before we started getting distributed by Secretly Distribution as well. I would say a little more niche, but also good distributors. Fat Beats, who we were with for a long time. Traffic. Those are a little bit more like hip hop leaning, I would say. But I mean, any of them can do anything. But I mean, in the States, I would say Red Eye and Secretly have definitely emerged as like the two powerhouse indie distributors, and they have pretty different. I think they have different models, but they're both.
What are the models? How do they work?
I think Red Eye has a lot more labels than Secretly has. Red Eye has, I think, they gobbled up a lot of label rights during the pandemic when everybody was jumping ship from Warner. I'm not sure if you are hip to like the whole fucking absolute dumpster fire that happened during the pandemic as far as major label distribution. Oh man, it's so fun. It's so fucked up. So there's a whole Pitchfork article. There's a whole Pitchfork article that came out then if you want to like really dig into it. But essentially, there's three major labels: Sony, Warner, and Uni. Back then, Warner was handling their own physical distribution out of Nashville. And Uni and Sony were having their distribution fulfilled out of Evansville, Indiana, from the same warehouse. Back then, if you had all three major label accounts, for the most part, you place an order on Sunday, you're getting that shit on Wednesday or Thursday. All was peachy. And then Warner decided, well, since the other two majors are already being distributed out of this one warehouse, maybe we could just move our stuff there and they'll all be shipping from the same place, even though it's, 3 separate entities. And it absolutely fucked everything. Like, imagine a train wreck and then the train cars just keep coming because they were trying to transport, almost like something like 90,000 UPCs. So 90,000 different UPCs with God knows how many hundreds and thousands of units of each of those UPCs, moving them from Nashville to Evansville to be ingested by this warehouse. But at the same time, people are releasing new records. It's not like everybody's like, hey guys, actually, can we pause for like 8 weeks so we can get these records in the warehouse?
Yeah.
So you had just like semi trucks full of stock lined up around this place. Nobody knows where shit is. Because of that, Warner found themselves in breach of their distribution contracts with a lot of people, and so a lot of people jumped ship. And so Red Eye was like, Red Eye and secretly like running down the field like, "Yo, I'm open," and just snagging labels. But I think Red Eye has. There's some labels that have just physical with Red Eye. There's some labels that have physical and digital with Red Eye. Secretly, maybe distributes like 60 labels. I think secretly it's a little more. I think each one is like a partnership more. Everybody is digital and physical. And there's some overlapping rights as far as like publishing and sync as well. And so like they're a little bit more entrenched, I think, with their label partners at the distro level than other places are.
Sure.
And that's what we wanted. Like we wanted somebody to like help us get better at Spotify. Help me figure that like 5-6 years ago. And they've done it for sure. But yeah, I would say if you're
how do physical distributors, physical distribution deals work? Is it based on commission? Do you pay them up front? Is it based on their wholesale? Like, just break down the business of how this works.
Yeah. So, if we have a new release, we'll talk to Secretly and we'll figure out, okay, we're pressing 5,000 of this new record. We're going to take this amount for direct to consumer. How many do you guys think? We'll kind of come up with what number we're going to initially ship them. Let's say it's 3,000. Okay, we're going to ship you 3,000 of this new LP. If the wholesale is $1,550, Secretly pays us 80% of whatever they sell. So as they sell things, they pay us 80% of whatever they get. I think that's how most distro deals work in general. I think between 80 and 75 ish. But
most hands-on distributors on the digital front keep 15 to 20% or something like that. That makes sense. So I guess it makes sense that physical is similar. I mean, is that of net? I mean, we're dealing with shipping costs, which you don't have to deal with digital. I mean, are they taking off shipping costs off the top, or does that go into the 20%?
So most shipments. So as a retailer, there's a free shipping mark with Secretly. So like if Plaid Room orders, I think it's $350. If you order $350, it ships for free. But if you don't, the retailer pays for it. So essentially, if somebody buys 10 copies of one of our records, we're going to get paid for 80% of 8 times $1,550. And so there are like other little warehousing fees, if things are stagnant or whatever. But the idea is that you come up with what you think is going to move in that first wave. And then every week we get a request from them like, hey, we're running low on this. Could you ship some of the, we need some more of these, and we monitor it as well because we don't want to get hit with warehouse fees. So we're like, oh shit, we'll send somebody over and we'll just withdraw a bunch of this stock because it doesn't look like it's moving for you guys. So it's pretty straightforward. I think that's how most distro deals work. It's how it worked with Fat Beats back in the day. So
can any record label, do the record labels need to be proven to get a physical distributor like this?
At this point, just because it is a lot to bring on. There's a lot of onboarding that comes along with, especially with Secretly, where like there is a massive amount of infrastructure and momentum and trust that is already built into that company, and so. I don't know what the threshold is, but there's definitely a threshold. I think the threshold is lower at Red Eye,
Okay.
but I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
So until you
just
meet
makes
that
sense.
threshold,
Yeah.
yeah, until you meet that threshold, you're going to have to do what you were doing in the early days, or what you said is going to be hard to do, which is hawking your records directly to the record stores without a distributor. That's the only way to do it. Is that it? You're packaging them, you're shipping them, you're doing the invoicing, you're doing this full on distribution retail operation.
Yeah, or you get with a Fat Beats or a Traffic, or there are other smaller operations. Another
Yeah.
option is so AEC, which stands for Alliance Entertainment Corporation. They're like a big one stop. They're the biggest physical distributor in the world, I believe, but they also offer direct distribution services, and so it's called Amped, AMPED, and
Cool.
that's an option for people that are like, maybe they're on their first or second or third record and they need infrastructure. Because I mean, every record shop has an AEC account. No record shop exists that doesn't have an AEC account. So if you get on with AEC or Amped or whatever, Amped is what they call their distro arm, and you're just somebody directly trying to hustle your shit, and you mail them a record and you go, hey, it's available from AEC. That lets a shop know this person gets it. Like, this person gets what I need. Whereas if they're just like, here's my record, I hope you enjoy it. If you want some, buy some. It's like, that's going to stop right there. Like, truly. Because that does not work within the system of most retail operations. They need a distributor, they need a vendor, they need a way to reorder, they need metadata, all that sort of shit. And but if you're like, hey, get it from AEC, again, like those flag words, those key words kind of let the retailer know, oh yeah, this person understands. This person gets what I need.
Great tip.
So yeah, and the other thing I would say about retail, like the importance of retail, is like, if you get a retailer on board with your record or your artist or your label, they become an ambassador for you for much longer than a PR campaign. Much longer than a radio campaign, or much longer than the monthly on Spotify or whatever, because if they love that record, they're going to hustle that record. I mean, I remember the early days of Crunbin, when not a lot of people were hustling that shit. We were fucking slanging Crunbin records because people would come in and they'd be like, I just want something like cool. And we're like, here you go. You just want something cool? Here you go.
Yeah.
You want something to put on your your parties that your friends haven't heard of? Fuck yeah. Here you go, bub.
Yeah.
You're gonna need this shit.
Nice,
and it was like, and I think that's the other benefit of Colemine and most of our releases, is like, our releases are record store friendly. Like, they all feel a certain way. They like, it's not like we're doing Norwegian death metal and you're like, fucking throw this shit on, bro. You're gonna fucking love it. It's like, put on this like fucking super catchy dirty disco from Say She She, and or a Durand record or a Kelly Finnigan record that like is contemporary and new and might be unknown to people, but definitely like touches points of nostalgia and feels a certain way. And so it's just, I think we tend to make record, and we make a lot of instrumental shit. We make a lot of like funk, soul, jazz adjacent shit, and that's like historically record store fodder.
Yes. I love it. Well, Terry, man, we got on such this incredible tangent that became the entire conversation. I had 30 other questions for you, but we don't have time for that. This was a fascinating conversation, and I can safely say the only one that I've had like this on the show. So I appreciate the insight into your entire operation. And I want to learn more, and we'll stay in touch and do this again soon.
Yeah, sounds good.
But I have one final question, that I ask everybody who comes on the show, and that is, what does it mean to you to make it in the new music business?
Making records that I would like to buy. Just, that's it. Making records that I would enjoy buying.
Beautiful.
That's it.
Beautiful.
So,
Terry Cole, thank you so much. That was great.
Hey, thanks for having me. Appreciate it, man.
Today's episode was edited by Mikey Evans with music by Grassroots District and produced by all the great people at Ari's Take.